Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of the Fourth and Goal podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Drew, along with Uncle Bob. Say hi to the people, Uncle Bob.
How you doing, folks? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
As you can see, for maybe one of the first times, I am wearing a hat as well. This is because it is early morning, and I have not been able to get my hair ready yet, so the hat goes on when that happens.
Wait, you get your hair ready before this podcast? That doesn't say very much about what the end product looks like.
Wow. Yo, I bet if we... You know what? Maybe one of these days we'll do a Who's Hotter, Rob or Drew. I think I'm winning that one, fam.
Oh, a poll. Okay, all right. It is cold here. We are filming this a bit earlier on a Tuesday morning than usual, so bundled up this side as well.
Yup. But with that, let's get into it. We got the news and notes. Not a ton going on here, but the one thing we wanted to bring up is we are officially done with the NFL International Series. We had 3 games in London, 2 games in Frankfurt. What are your thoughts on the International Series overall and how you think it went this year and where you think it's going?
I mean, I like it. As someone who's lived internationally for the last decade or so, I don't mind the exposure. I can see how traditional Americans are probably still not so happy with it. I also am an early riser, so I appreciate the fact that games pretty much start at the crack of dawn here. That's pretty enticing. There's a lot of fans out there. These are packed games. It's a lot of excitement. The gambling becomes a little complex because you just don't know what to make of these games. I'm just upset they didn't have one in Mexico City this year. Of all the years they have them, they're doing renovations at the stadium, so I didn't get one because I would have for sure found my way there. What about you? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I like the concept. I like a lot of things about it. I think the problem now, I'm not sure if it's some of the teams that were sent over there or some of the results of or like the jet lag or whatever, but we've had some pretty ass games, for lack of a better term. Like, I think the only team that truly went there and showed their best self was the Jaguars, who are basically the London team, and their best self was really shown, especially the second time around, because they stayed there for 2 weeks. And so the one thing I saw is like, yeah, if you stay there, I think the jet lag is impacting teams. Like this past week in Frankfurt, I am sorry to anyone in the German audience who had to watch that Colts-Patriots game. Oh, God, that was not pleasant. But, I think this is just leading to NFL expansion into Europe. This is literally test runs. And we're going to do it for a few more years. I think in like 3 or 4 years, we're going to announce that it's coming. And a couple of years later, after that, we're actually going to have teams in Europe.
Yeah, I think that's a given. But let's not forget, we've been sending them ass games the entire time, right? Like, those Jaguar teams that used to go over there were picked because they were so awful and they didn't sell out in Jacksonville and no one could watch the games locally anyways. So they're like, well, if we're going to go send a team. And that didn't really, deter people. It wasn't the really caliber of play on the field.
That's fair.
I remember early days, my buddy Pele, who he's a South African but loves American football, he was living in London. And it was one of the first games, or very early days of these games, and he was like, who attends these games? He never understood. And one day he happened to be taking the tube at the same time as people were heading to the game in the area. And he just said that it was thousands of Americans in all various different types of NFL gear, right? We kind of forget how big the North American kind of expat community is in London, and especially in Germany, where there's a lot of soldiers and their families and affiliates there. So I think it's both the European audience, but also just the American expat audience are the ones that are feeling a little homesick, and I think driving a lot of the actual ticket sales in the games. But I agree with you. Within 10 years, there's definitely a London team, if not a Frankfurt team or a Munich team, maybe 2 in Germany.
Yeah. I think it's London, Frankfurt, Munich, and I think we're gonna see wherever the next city they go to is their fourth kind of target. I think they're gonna target 4. But with that,
they could do Mexico City, but that doesn't really work with, I think, the time Like if you
No.
want to go, you play like 2 or 3 games against a division, like a European division, right?
Yeah, you send teams out there for multiple weeks, and that's why the Jaguars went out for 2 weeks this year. They wanted to run that as a
Right,
test. That's
right.
my opinion, at least. But either way, we got a lot to talk about in our Week 10 recap. And let's start with the rookie phenom, CJ Stroud, coming back, taking the win against revamped Joe Burrow in the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, what's your thoughts on that whole situation?
Wild game, first off. CJ Stroud looks good. He looks like the real deal, unlike, say, Bryce Young. I think that's a good. We'll see how this plays out, but that's already not looking good in terms of how that went. Yeah, the kid looks legit. He's got really good vision. He goes through his reads quickly. He's mobile, makes plays, makes really good throws, deep balls, too. He's not afraid to go deep. Again, I wouldn't give him too much credit. They pretty much lost that game if Tyler Boyd knew how to catch the ball, right? That was
Yeah.
so as much as we're all clowning on the Bengals here as oh, are they regressing again? It's no, Joe Burrow did drive down the field, had an open touchdown, man, didn't get it, and then they went down the field with 30 seconds left and kicked a field goal. So, again, I don't want to read too much into it. We'll get to best bets with Bookie Bob later, so we won't reveal anything now. But yeah, I think in the end, the Texans are a good, frisky team. I'm afraid to bet on them, afraid to bet against them, but I like to watch CJ Stroud play. And man, he looks young. I saw him in the locker room after, just dancing around or whatever. The kid looks like a really bulky. I was afraid. I was man, I'm feeling old.
Yeah, well, I mean, one, you are old. Two, I'm with you. I really like CJ Stroud. I think it's clear and obvious he is the best QB from this draft. But there are people that are out here calling for him to be named MVP. We need to rein that in. His stats right now, I think he has 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's going to regress. He has one of the lowest completion percentage in the league. He has one of the highest miss rates in the league. He's extremely talented. He is throwing the ball downfield, but just for context, I think it's Matt Stafford, Deshaun Watson, Kenny Pickett, Jordan Love, and Zach Wilson are the only QBs with over 1,000 yards that have a lower completion percentage than CJ Stroud. That's just to show you he is not he's not perfect. The fact that this is what he's doing in his rookie season, though, tells you everything you need to know. This guy's a stud, and I don't want that to be forgotten. It's just those of you saying, oh, he's a 15 TD to 2 interception guy, this guy is going to be MVP. It's no. It's going to regress.
Yeah, no. That's ridiculous. I mean, he's rookie of the year, I think, right away by
100%.
Far. Let's pretty much lock that in. Of course, none of our dumbasses picked him in our preseason bets, but hey, what can we say? Well, you're a good gambler. I'm always, as usual, not. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, there was a lot of other action too. Speaking of game-winning field goals, I think we had 6. It was a record. I know it was 5, I believe, at the end. And then if you add in this Broncos game, which they should have missed. Oh my God, let's just start there. How do you fucking blow that, Buffalo? 12 men on the field on a missed kick. And he's drilling the next one. I turned the game off. I just knew he was making that next kick lock, hook, and sinker, right?
That was awful. That was awful. Because it's and I get it. It was because the Broncos did a move I don't love, but it worked. Because they didn't have any timeouts left. They used their last run.
Right. That was interesting. They did the little run.
So they had to do the kneel, but then they're on a clock. They have to make the kick. And I don't love the call, but clearly it worked because when you have to do it on the fly, the Bills changed on the fly. They weren't able to count numbers. They weren't able to make sure they had the right numbers. And it was very clearly 12 guys on the field. That's a clear one. You can argue the PI call. I hate those PI calls. I think it was PI.
That was a bullshit one. He actually turned around and looked, I thought. And then they collided bodies. Come on.
By definition,
defense.
By definition, it's PI. But, like, why was it PI? Because the ball was severely underthrown. And so Jerry Jeudy has to try to come back to it. And it's like those ticky-tack PI calls, yes, technically it's PI, but you're literally changing the winner of a game based on a ticky-tack PI call.
Yeah.
I didn't like the end of that game as a fan. Bills fans, I'm so sorry. Like, that was one of the most rough endings.
Why are they even changing to PAT in that moment? Just keep your defense out there. Throw a safety or two back in case the ball's short and you can return it or something. You know what I mean? Like, they just... I don't know. To me, it blew my mind that you would have 12. And the funniest part is when they kept showing the 11-man down, and then the 12th man was the guy doing jumping jacks. Like, that's somehow going to matter. I was like, oh, yeah, that was worth it. That was the 12th man. Like, well done, sir. Well done, sir. But I think the Bills, so that was my last Bills bet. I think they're a bad team. I think they've had too many injuries. Josh Allen and Diggs cannot carry them enough. They just make maybe it's bad coaching. I don't know. They make a lot of penalties. I'm not a big fan of the Bills down the rest of the season here. I'm shorting Bills.
I'm with you. I think I do have the Bills winning this week. I think you do as well. But it's a
but they're playing the Jets, right?
Jets in Buffalo. They did lose to the Jets earlier this season, but still, I think at the end of the day, though, the Bills right now with all these injuries, it is literally Josh Allen. It's the Josh Allen show.
Yeah.
And there was 4 or 5 drops by his receivers in the first half alone yesterday. And one of his 2 interceptions literally went through Gabe Davis's hands. Not even like it tipped his fingers.
I know.
It went through the triangle. Like, he hit it couldn't have been a more perfectly thrown ball. And it's still another statistic for Josh Allen's interceptions. It's wild.
Yeah. No, for sure. What other game struck you? Oh, yeah, so we had the Baltimore Ravens losing, which I loved, in the final hours to the Cleveland Browns, which was also on a game-winning field goal, I believe.
Yep.
The Seahawks were about to blow my Survivor League and lose to the Commanders, but managed to pull one out. So, and I forgot what the last game-winning field goal one was. I want to say it was like the Vikings, maybe. But how about Vikings?
No, it wasn't Vikings because the Saints tried to come back. The Lions had the game-winning field goal.
Oh yeah, your Lions.
Yeah, but we can talk about the Vikings quickly because I'm happy to talk about Josh Dobbs, the Pastronaut, all day. Again, I'm a Lions fan. They're a division rival. I'm not happy that they've won like 6 of their last 7 and look like a really good team with Justin Jefferson coming back soon, but I can't hate Josh Dobbs. I can't do it.
No, you can't. The kid is incredible. Did you see the thing where he didn't even know where the locker room was when he showed up? Some guy had to show him the way. He was asking security. Again, still doesn't know the plays. Probably knows half of the players at this point. And he's winning games. Like, is this Vikings team that good? Are we overrating Kirk Cousins all of a sudden? Maybe this team is just incredibly stacked and all you can do is plug and play a quarterback there. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I love it. Like, again, as a physics nerd, let's go. Pastronaut all day.
Yeah, I don't think that Kirk Cousins is overrated, but I think Josh Dobbs has been severely underrated. And in an offense where he has some ability to just do what he needs to do, like the Cardinals' offense, I don't think is as well structured as the Vikings was in general. Like, let's not forget. Right. Kirk Cousins had multiple games where he was passing for over 350 yards. Kirk Cousins was like QB1 in fantasy before going down to that injury. Like, the issue was no one else was playing on the defense. Now the defense is playing a little bit better, and so you can do a little bit more plug-and-play quarterback. But I'm not going to sleep on Kirk Cousins because that guy was playing like the best quarterback in the league for a period prior to his injury.
Yeah, no, I was more being facetious about the ease in which Dobbs is winning these games. But we'll see if he can keep the magic going into Week 11. Any other Week 10 games that caught your eye?
I mean, and I obviously am a Lions fan, but I do want to quickly talk about what was arguably a candidate for Game of the Year, the Lions-Chargers. That was just a game that was just back and forth. haymaker after haymaker. Dude, did you watch it?
No, it was a good game. I didn't watch the full thing like start to finish, but I did tune in from time to time. I'm just giving you shit for being a Lions fan, calling it game of the century or whatever.
I'm not
It's
saying
like,
game of the
wow,
century.
congratulations. The Lions win games now.
I'm not saying game of the century. I'm not even saying game of the year because I still think game of the year goes to Texans and Buccaneers from last week. But
Yeah.
this was an unreal game. It was so much fun to watch. Lions win 41-38.
I think the game of the year is still that Colts Browns game from like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was like a 35-35. Everyone thought the Colts had won.
See, my problem with that game, I like that pick, but the refs played too big a part in it. And that, to me, is always... When the refs are the reason a result happens, I can't call it game of the year, in spite how good...
it just ruins the end, yeah.
Exactly. That's why, like, these games, like, the refs didn't feel like they had a significant impact. It felt like, no... The Lions in this game and the Texans in the game last week, like they won it on their own skill and merit, not because the refs started throwing flags.
But it was an impressive performance by the Lions. It was a shootout, a lot of electric plays, a lot of electric players. I still think the Chargers, I don't know, man. I can't. That team, they don't win games. Justin Herbert doesn't win games.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Herbert, I think he's fine. Again, there's teams like this that just don't work around him. Like, they have the highest paid defense in the league, and their defense is shit.
Right, always.
They have they have Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler on offense and like Rashawn Slater on O-line, but they got a lot of holes in that O-line still. They don't really have a secondary receiver now that Mike Williams is out. They don't get a lot around Herbert, realistically.
Right.
And they overpay everyone on that defense. So it doesn't feel like this is Herbert's fault.
Chargers.
Like you can't blame Herbert.
There's only 4 Charger fans out there.
There's 10, but you're close.
True, and we know 2 of them.
Exactly. But anything else you want to talk about? I know you're itching. You're just like, you got that itch to talk about your Pittsburgh Steelers, so I'll let you go off on them for a second.
I did watch that game, and that was a hell of a performance. I was hoping you would bring it up. Everyone's always counting out the Steelers. Here we are, sitting at the top of the AFC North, which is the most difficult division in the league, no less. So I love it. I think this is incredible. We are going to be above your little 9-8. I hate to break it to you, as division champs, heading into the playoffs.
So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. You've got Seahawks, Bengals, Browns, Ravens, all on the road, and Bengals at home. You have not outgained a team all year. You are 6-3. Do you really think this is going to be like 11-16, which I think what you need in the AFC to make the playoffs?
I do think we can take 2 of those 4 games. Why I like this team is this Najee Harris, Jalen Warren 1-2 kind of thunder and lightning sort of deal is actually looking quite good. We're running well. Our offensive line is coming together. And our defense is just so stringent that we're always within games. And Kenny Pickett, as awful as he can be from time and can't really throw a deep ball, does kind of get this moxie thing together in the fourth quarter and make his conversions and gets us the win. Again, we're a little Vikings from last year, right? Where you're like the close game champions. We always tend to win them out. But part of that is just good coaching. It's discipline. And again, that's a tough, hard-nosed football team, as per usual. The only problem is Kenny Pickett's not consistent enough. We have a ton of 3-and-outs, keeping the defense on the field and getting tired down stretches. So I would be reluctant in a game where we're like behind by a touchdown, the 2-minute drill, 80 yards to go. Can Pickett do that yet? We haven't seen it quite yet from him because our defense and run game's been so dominant. So that would be my only concern down the stretch.
Yep, for sure. Okay. But with that, I think that's fair. I still got the Steelers going 9-8. I have not wavered from that once this whole year, and I'm still on that
I know.
train.
I know.
Well, we'll
That's
see.
fine.
And you also know that
Haters gonna hate.
it's not even me hating. Nobody else had the Steelers having 9 wins. I'm actually a Steelers fan. I'm just staying on
That's
my...
right. Yeah, exactly. Heading into the season, we were by far the team that everyone thought would be the worst in the division. Maybe the Browns.
Yeah. So, but let's move on to our Week 11 picks. Let's get them up on the screen here. And our picks looking extremely similar this week. And I think that's pretty much because there's a lot of clear favorites in this week. There's a lot of like, okay, that team's better. We do differ on 2. You have the Bengals on Thursday Night Football. I have the Ravens. And then I took a bit of a cheeky upset with the Rams at home upsetting the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that Rams-Seahawks one. Again, the Seahawks are a team where they're always in these close games. They can kind of lose these things. It's a division game on the road. I could see that being snuck. I'll be straight up here. Fuck the Ravens. Cincinnati's my mom's team. I'm going back on Friday, the day after the game. This is a straight home pick. I have no, I have no two ways of saying it, except I've been on the Cincinnati bandwagon. I seem to get it wrong all the time. They're going to go play the Ravens on a Thursday night. Fuck them. Go Bengals.
Yep, and another week. I want to point... we've been talking about this saga all year long, but we have picked opposite on the Bengals almost every week. Twice we have picked the same way on the Bengals. And both those 2 times we both picked the Bengals, and we lost them both.
Yeah, exactly. It was the Titans game, and it was last week, right?
Yeah.
And I stayed away from the Bengals last week in the Survivor League that I'm still alive in. Specifically because I looked at Texans, I was like, that's a trap game. Went with the Seahawks, was almost a trap game, too. But yeah, so I think that's probably the best Thursday night game of the year so far, besides the Lions-Chiefs that started us out. And that's not like I don't count that as a regular Thursday night game.
For sure.
Me, that's more like a Monday Night Football game because they have so much time leading up into it. It's not these short week, funky ones. But hopefully that'll be a good game. It's in Baltimore, I believe. Is that correct?
It is in Baltimore. That is the reason I picked the Ravens.
In Baltimore.
Let me be clear. That is when in doubt, I pick the home team, and that's why I went Ravens here. This was a doubt game. It's the same reason why on the Monday Nighter I'm picking the Chiefs, which, talking about it, we got Bengals at Ravens Thursday night, Eagles at Chiefs Monday night, even Vikings at Broncos right now looks like a pretty exciting game after one of the worst slates I've ever seen of primetime games this past week. We come into week 11 with one of the best slates of primetime games.
Right. It wasn't even last week. It was like the last 2, maybe even 3 weeks we had pretty abysmal primetime games, right? And also, as you said, the last couple of weeks have been very kind of even-keeled, a lot of pick-ems, a lot of teams that were kind of right at each other's equivalents. And that's not the case this week, right? You just have teams where it's which is either the recipe for disaster in terms of parlays and gambling, right? Because it's going to be like a week 6 kind of upset sort of deal. Or we are who we thought they are, and these teams are going to it's all going to be kind of chalk, which is more or less how we are looking at it. But I think that Seahawks-Rams game that you mentioned is going to be pretty good. There are a couple games that are a little unwatchable here. The Cowboys should be able to smash the Panthers, for instance. The Dolphins against the Raiders as well is another one that should be. What do you think of that Jags game? I have that earmarked as an interesting one.
Yeah, I think the Jags defense is really good. I like the Jags defense. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence, though, what version of Trevor Lawrence are we going to get? Because we got to start talking about Trevor Lawrence. I think he had a really hot end to last season. He had all the potential in the world coming out of Clemson. He hasn't been that guy. Right now, who would you rather have lead your team? Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott?
Neither.
I mean,
I
think they're
mean,
both.
this year probably Dak, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Dak probably has more of buy-in from his teammates, but I still have that Trevor. I can't shake the Trevor magic. Like, I feel like it should be coming, right? And like, I'm big on the Jags all year. I have them picked this year again. I think I might take them in my Survivor League as well. I mean, is Will Levis good?
I still like Will Levis. He's a rookie. He's going to have growing pains. Like, let's not forget that even CJ Stroud, this CJ Stroud we're putting on this pedestal, lost to Bryce Young and the Panthers. Like,
exactly.
where he put up 13 points on the Panthers. Like,
yep, your Lions should be able to trounce the Bears. Just looking around here, right? Like, just in terms of like a lot of these games are super lopsided, right?
The Lions Bears. I'm gonna point something out. The Lions last year had a massive struggle with running quarterbacks. This year, game
Justin Fields scared him up.
The one game they got blown out was Lamar because he was able to run on them. If Justin Fields is back for this game and he's able to run, I still have the Lions. I still think the Lions are going to win, but this is a game that could be closer than you think. Now, I'm not saying to bet the spread because Jared Goff is against the spread Jesus. He beats the spread constantly. But
unlike Josh Allen.
Yeah, not like Josh Allen. But either way, the Lions should win, but don't be surprised if the Bears do a lot better than a lot of us are expecting just because the Lions struggle against running quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, I remember that game. I think you still won that game, though, last year, right? But Fields did go, like, off.
We did, but Fields went
for, like, it was like his greatest game is when he became a fantasy god, and everyone's like, oh, shit, he might not throw touchdown passes, but if he can run for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Who cares?
Some leagues actually give bonus points when you score a rushing touchdown as a quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. But then also, so on the screen I have right now, I should correct. You actually have the Lions as your lock of the week. I'm showing as the Washington lock of the week. I did forget to change that. I apologize to everyone. Washington lock of the week is my lock of the week, which funnily enough, I was literally all season saving this week for the Lions lock of the week. I'm like, even if Justin Fields is back, even if he runs,
I remember this.
There's no reason. I've been saving the Lions, but Tommy DeVito is not him. Like,
Tommy DeVito lives at home. I told you he's the Jersey boy. He lives at home with his mom and his dad.
Tommy DeVito.
You know, that's a larger margin of that's one of the largest spreads in the this week. Honestly, I looked at it like I might want to take Giants plus. I'm a Commanders fan this year, as you know, but I don't know. I think that could be a close game. The Giants defense is pretty good right now.
They allowed 49 to the Cowboys. They got blown out the last 2 weeks.
Well, they're not good against the Cowboys. They're not good against the Cowboys. The Cowboys put up, I think, 42-0 and 49. So let's take those outliers out the picture. But against like the Bills, they were pretty solid. But then maybe the Bills just aren't that good. I think they play to the level of their competition, and the Washington football team is definitely that level of competition that they can stay in this game. And I still have faith in you, Tommy DeVito.
Because the week before, they let the Raiders score 30 on them, though.
I know. I had that fantasy. I had them in fantasy that week.
So either way, I think that I think Washington, like with Tommy DeVito, they're at Tommy DeVito at quarterback. I trust that Washington can take this. And to win Survivor, you gotta pick some dirty teams. You gotta do it. Yeah. I'm living in Survivor, and so I gotta pick the dirty team. I'm like, the Lions have more games down the stretch that I can pick them. I'm not going to be able to pick the Commanders again, so take the win when you can get the win.
Also, sneaky Packers at home could beat the Chargers.
Yeah, very much so. That's going to be a close game because the Chargers can't win big games. The Packers are a team that is a second-half team. This is going to be a game. I picked the Chargers because I think Justin Herbert's talent wins out.
Yeah.
But this is like a 55-45, 60-40 to me. This is a game, if you said Packers win, I would not be shocked.
And so kind of bringing us to best bets with Bookie Bob, that would be a game that I might look at a spread, Packers to cover the spread there. I even like kind of like a Jets to cover the spread. That defense is freaking ferocious for the Jets. The Bills, as we've said, are not the greatest team. So right now I don't have too much money out there, but as the viewer knows, I am a degenerate and I cannot help myself when things get closer. So I might have some money on some of that action. But as we look into best bets with Bookie Bob, it is not even a close race here in the who is going to make the most money this year. We have Drew with a whopping $197 profit heading into week 11. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been following his picks, you are rich. If you have been following Uncle Bob, you are somewhat in the red, down $20. At one point this weekend, I was back in the green, and then I proceeded to just hemorrhage and flitter away all my money on primetime games because we have the 4th and Goal Twitch, and I like to talk some shit with the folks. And again, just a degenerate all around. So, heading into this week, I'm keeping it easy for now. It's also Tuesday morning, so this will change as we get closer to some action, I guarantee. But for now, keeping it nice and clean with a $10 bet on the Minnesota Vikings, the Cardiac Vikes, and the Pastronaut to cover the plus 2.5 point spread against the Broncos on Sunday Night Football in Mile High Stadium. It's going to be a tough road win, but I think Josh Dobbs has what it takes. Let's keep the magic rolling. He's only going to get better as he learns more about the playbook, right?
Yeah.
And I also have a short on the Browns all year. Fuck them.
Yeah, because we both of us picked the Vikings to upset the Broncos in that game, even though the Broncos have beat the Bills and Chiefs in the last 2 games. But I still stand by it. I think it's a good pick. I really, really like the Vikings. I think there is a bit of homerism being like, I just want Josh Dobbs to do well. As much as it potentially hurts the Lions, I just want Josh Dobbs to be great. I just want greatness.
And this is a perfect bet for me because it's like I also physics major, love NASA. The astronauts are shouting out Josh Dobbs, so it's a great one they're an underdog. So you can be like, yes, I knew Josh Dobbs was going to go in there and win, and if they don't, I can just be like, dude, fuck Russell Wilson and the Broncos yet again, right?
Yeah,
and so
yeah, this is right up your alley.
I'm perfectly happy. We're not happy losing money. Like I want to win this, obviously, but if I do lose, I'll have a good it was always very like a grumble, rabble.
Yeah.
I'm getting a minus 105 on that for those keeping score. So that's Vikings to cover plus 2.5 points at minus 105, $10.
Yeah, I went actually almost against my picks. And I know that sounds weird, but it's because of the odds. I took the Cardinals money line at plus 168. Again, I talked about CJ Stroud. I think he's elite, and I think he's the best quarterback in the draft. I think he's going to be one of the great quarterbacks in the league for years to come. But I think he's going to regress from where he is. And if he regresses, along with the Cardinals looking a lot better, having Kyler Murray, let's not forget the new Call of Duty sucks, so Kyler Murray might be good at football. This is a fact.
Yo. Undisputed, really.
Yeah.
The only guy that has less iPad watching film time is Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Manziel.
0.0.
So, but either way, I think that this Cardinals team has been scrappy all year. Again, they had Josh Dobbs. They were in a lot of games. I love Josh Dobbs, but let's be honest, Kyler Murray is a better QB than Josh Dobbs, just realistically. And that's Josh Dobbs is still great. Love Josh Dobbs. Kyler Murray is a better QB. This team is going to do, I think, pretty well and has an opportunity to upset the Texans if CJ Stroud comes down to earth a little bit and regresses to the mean like I expect him to eventually. So that's what I'm taking.
No, like I said, I think that's one of the very few kind of like toss-up games on the roster this week, right? Besides like Bengals, Ravens, and that's Thursday night. I think everyone's going to kind of leave that one alone. But so yeah, I mean, you have the Broncos Vikings as a toss up. Like Dolphins should smash the Raiders. Like in terms of where there's value, right? Dolphins Raiders no value unless you're going to take the dogs here. Lions, Bears, Jags, Titans, right? Chargers, Packers. That's again a little frisky value there if you want to go Packers. And then the Texans, Cardinals is another one of those. Like early in the season, everyone would have thought this was a toss-up. Might have even gone Cardinals. So again, I've picked the Texans, but I'm not too mad at your pick. It's a little early on a Tuesday, so we don't have our bonus bets out there or the kind of the specials that FanDuel packs together. So pay attention to our Twitter because almost guaranteed a couple bets. Hopefully there's a CeeDee Lamb one because I am all over the money train. That is CeeDee Lamb over yards. We were getting great value on that bet this week.
But now
that hit in like the first half.
Oh yeah, the CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who both went for like 150, absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
Let me just say the one thing: if you want to be a greasy, grimy gambler and you want to bet $1 or $2 and make a really good return, the team to bet on is the Panthers. And that's because the Cowboys, we've talked about this all year. The Cowboys, every once in a while, just toss up a duck. Before the Cardinals win this week, they had one win all season, and it was against the Cowboys. This is a team that tosses ducks.
Yeah, I agree. They could shit themselves, and they've been playing too well, too much. And I believe they're in Carolina for that game, which means they're going to be on the road and in an early game, which is possible for them to blow. We've looked at that before.
And the Cowboys, this is what they do every year. Once we start to be like, the Cowboys are legit, they go and bomb a game to a terrible team, and all of a sudden we're like, Cowboys are trash. And this is just what they do. And it's not to say the Cowboys can't go and win a Super Bowl. I truly believe this team can. They just need to have a run of no ducks in the playoffs. But this is the perfect Cowboy duck game.
You know what's a sneaky play is the Panthers and the Jets to cover the spread. Parlay that together. That's a nice little. Jets could go on the road, tough defense, hold these atrocious Bills to within I think it's a 10-point spread right now. And then I think we were looking at 12-ish for the Panthers, right? So, yeah, both of those teams might be able to cover. That could be a fun little sneaky. This could be an underdog. Like we said, this could be an underdogs week. That's where the value is. Like you said, the Rams, Seahawks there. I think there's some value on the Rams. And then Eagles, Chiefs, if you want to go a little sneaky there, that's going to be a fun little shootout. I'm not ready to even think about that game yet. Let's see how we do earlier on our bets.
I might go and put a sneaky $1 parlay on Jets and Panthers, not spread, to win.
Money line,
$1 parlay. Yeah,
I like that. I might get a little. I need some recovery, so I need to throw a couple long shot dollars out there and turn that into a quick 30-35 to get me back on track. Because as we all know, you cannot win if you do not play.
And as we all know, Uncle Bob, Bookie Bob, is a degenerate gambler. Either way, guys, we are a little bit over time, so I think with that we have a good finish to Best Bets with Bookie Bob. That brings an end to episode 12 of the Fourth and Goal podcast. Thank you to everyone for listening. Again, if you are listening to this before the Week 11 slate of games, I implore you, come watch our Twitch because these games are going to be great. This is an epic game of prime times. It's the same as our YouTube at Fourth and Goal 101. You can find us. We live stream all the games, and these are going to be a ton of fun. We got a great community. I think we're going to have a lot of turnout for these games, so please come to that. But with that, anything else from you?
That's it. Let's go. It's a great slate of games. We're excited. The Steelers have a bye. Wait, no. Never mind.
Dude, no one cares about the Steelers. Either way, thank you, everyone.
They're playing.
Thank you, everyone. We had a great time. We will see you all next week.